Hello, everyone. This is Krishanu, your host, and a very warm welcome to Weekends with Amit. Today, we are going to talk about the power of beauty. When we think about power, a lot of people think that power is attractive. Even a lot of people will think power is sexy. But what about beauty? Is the power of beauty limited to melting other people's heart? Or is there more to it? Is beauty just something that is for entertainment, or there is something deeper that we need to explore? To answer all these questions and a lot more, help me welcome Professor Amit Goswami and Dr. Valentina Onisor. A
Thank
very
you.
warm welcome to the show. The subject today that we would like to discuss about is the power of beauty. And I'm not going into any interpretations on this because these are two very important words, power and beauty. So how do you see these combinations, Professor Goswami?
Good question. Power of beauty. Well, initially, just like the archetypes of abundance and power itself, uh, initially, beauty was also uh, explored by human beings with the idea of basically survival in mind. It was probably not this way with the actual artists because artists do listen to a different drummer, musicians especially, literally, others metaphorically, and uh, there must be some creative impetus in all artists. But still, survival was a big issue, prehistoric times. Pleasure was the big issue. People have been very gung ho about using the pleasure circuits, the initial humans, and no wonder that artists were uh, basically employed to provide pleasure, which is called entertainment. And then things changed. Things changed drastically when love was added to beauty. And ever since, love and beauty is practically have been inseparable in virtually every culture. How do we know? The gods and goddesses that represent uh, beauty invariably also represent love. Like in Greece, you have Aphrodite, and it's an image for both love and beauty. In India, likewise, images like Saraswati or images like Lakshmi, they both combine power and beauty. So, what happens to beauty when we both combine both love and beauty? Sorry, previous sentence. What happens when beauty is combined with love is that beauty initially is very personal thing, personal entertainment, but it becomes transpersonal. How? It touches people not with the help of the pleasure circuits, but non locally, without exchanging signals. That is, it expands the heart of people. You're with me? Today we think nothing of it because we are used to the concept. For example, people would put flowers in the living room, and that would be an addition of beauty because looking at the flowers expands our consciousness. That's why we do it. We do not do it where some people could, I guess. That would be the base level human beings, base level human condition, who cannot feel very much, and therefore they probably do it because pleasure circuits may have something still to do with seeing a bunch of flowers. One can't do it that way. Brain is built that way. But I think many people also see that the beauty of a sunrise, beauty of a bunch of flowers, beauty of taking a trip through a river and see the river flow, these things expand your consciousness. This is what happens when beauty is combined with love. I'm assuming that people who enjoy beauty this way, they also are exploring love. There is love in their life already. Actually, it's not only love that adds power to beauty, it's also truth that adds power to beauty. I especially know it because, scientists could not work, especially scientists who try to be original or research original ideas. They could not work if they did not have this criterion of beauty. It's a strange thing. Paul Dirac, a Nobel laureate quantum physicist, was one of the beginning discoverers of quantum physics. Paul Dirac said this beautifully. It's something that you feel. You cannot describe what it is. Of course, we certainly can talk a lot and do talk a lot. Valentina and I just finished a book called The Return of the Archetypes, in which we have chapters after chapters talking about the archetype of beauty. So words come easily today because, so many people have talked about it. I have some personal experience with beauty myself. Then, Rabindranath Tagore wrote a beautiful poem about how he discovered beauty in a black, dark woman whom people in India regard as not so beautiful, ugly in fact. But that beautiful poem talks about beauty in this way, that Tagore saw beauty when he found his heart expanded, because this girl, a teenage girl, attending to her cow actually, looked at him with a bashfulness that expanded the heart of Rabindranath. I had that same experience. I was unmindfully going along the corridor of a physics building, and all of a sudden this, not exactly teenage, but college co-ed comes into my view, very pretty. And I must have been ogling her unmindfully, completely unmindfully. My mind was on some problems, like, that's what physicists do. Now all of a sudden I found myself looking at this girl, and she was embarrassed, obviously. And she gave this most beatific smile. I'll never forget that. Ever since, I have never been disrespectful to a woman in looking at her. I saw the beauty in her smile so strongly. So people need truth, people need love to empower the idea of beauty in them. But how to practice these things? This is where we need our resident expert of actual techniques to engage with the archetypes. Here's Valentina. Please.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be with you. And what Amit has talked about just now, it's also another term for what is called transfiguration. So it's, of course, a matter of what is your perspective upon life and upon yourself and upon a certain moment, because beauty as an archetype, as other archetypes, it's also manifestations of the now. So it's, again, it's a matter of looking. So it's called also transfiguration. If you see everything distorted through the material lens only, and you're contracted, pessimistic, this is your reality. You're in the ego level, and you cannot see these things from the ego level only. So it's a certain resonance or not. And you keep creating that. So if we manage to, for example, to change the lens to living a life of gratitude, or even to be curious, no matter what you see around you will change. So sometimes in a second, really. So again, it's not about imagining things, but about being able to connect to the heart of things, to the essence. And this is, of course, in relation of how close you are also towards your essence, how authentic you are actually, and how beautiful and responsible you carry that in the world. So it has to do with your global level of vibration, of purity. It's also a matter of how your higher chakras are activated or not. um, but again, so let me just give you, so much to talk about beauty. And again, it's something that you really don't want to live in this world without beauty, without being able to perceive this beauty that is outer and its inner beauty as well. So I remember there was a story about Marilyn Monroe. So she's one of these manifestations of that you call beauty and fascination, right? And there was a story that she was among she was just in a market between other women, and nobody could see her at some point. You wouldn't distinguish her. And then suddenly she just said to her friend, and now look. And suddenly she became that embodiment of beauty. So she really just activated something in herself that suddenly everybody was charmed. So it's a very, very special. It's not just the charisma. It's really an activation of something very, very special, which again has to do with authenticity and purity, and a certain type of awakening of this, in this case, the feminine archetypes. Yeah. But there is a spiritual, an alchemical, a cathartic and healing dimension of you can call it aesthetic experience, because again, we don't mean only of how a person looks. So when we say beauty, you can also refer to these aesthetic experiences that you can find in other ways as well. And you can really think of it as a journey into the realm of beauty. And in the same time, when you do this kind of journey in the realm of beauty, you do it the journey towards your heart. So if you think of art, of course, any art, authentic art, should make you wonder and ask yourselves, actually, who am I? What I am, and what's my purpose? And any form of beauty actually is constantly asking us, or impels us to ask ourselves this question. So authentic art, is connecting color, form, shape, pattern, sound, movement in a unique way to unique, very powerful emotions, and at the same time is revealing a truth, the truth, and is communicating what has inspired the artist in the first place, and that intent, power, manifesting through the artist, and now is touching us as well, even if it's over ages, right? A mirror. We can see a much better version of ourselves, when we are in front of this kind of art, and more and more as we really are, not as we think that we are. So we can see again more than that in any form of beauty, the, if you want, the meaningful forces and the patterns of the universe. And it can take you to the states of present wisdom, and it can give you all kind of insights. And as I said, healing, really, beauty has the power of healing. So it's, if in the West, the you talk a lot about beauty and aesthetic experience, and art as a powerful impulse. Again, it has the catharsis power towards healing, towards cleaning our shadows, how they are called. So any aesthetic experience that is genuine also has this cathartic experience. Maybe you saw there are uh, all kind of shows. For example, Cirque du Soleil, if you saw something like that. It's so amazing what they are creating there and how much they train themselves to really transmit something which is so beautiful and really, really healing if you're attentive. So again, there is this cathartic art. It was Carl Jung. He said that all arts enable us to communicate with our psychic via metaphors, via myths. Yeah? So, and this is so direct because beauty is bypassing the thinking mind, and art is communicating directly with our soul. It's revealing these archetypes through various symbols. It can be, again, as I said, cathartic. It can even heal various traumas, where you don't find really a remedy, but art can do it. So there's so many evidence about healing through art. And Jung, again, he was speaking and doing this art therapy sessions, and there were so many really healing from various problems and serious problems. So it's much more than any rational philosophy or common psychotherapy, because art and beauty is transporting us beyond the shell of our ego constructions, and is helping us to see what lies beyond, what is beyond and above the ego. So, for example, there was you heard maybe Oedipus Rex. He was thrown out and he was condemned to be in the wilderness, a blind vagabond, hated by all. So there was the worst case scenario there. But there was this play, which is suggesting that by enduring the worst that life can give, he gained the spiritual power, and because of that, he recognized that he lost. He had this power to face his own shadows, and he gets to Athens and begins. He's taken as a refugee, and even if nobody would take him as a refugee, so the king of Athens had the courage of compassion, to take pity on him and see beyond, and recognize despite his outcast status, it was an integrity there, something pure, as Amit was mentioning about that girl. And again, so this kind of moments that lead to transformation, and this Oedipus is going from outcast to be a recognized spiritual person, actually, that brings now blessings to Athens. So again, Jung was really right, because we can accept and heal and transform our shadows from something that seems to be a threat to an ally through art, and through beauty, and to accept even our wounded inner self, to find healing and transformation. So again, no wonder that we are so keen to see art, to go to theaters, to again, because they have the role to purify something in us. They tell us something, and there's something universal that touches entirely our humanity, And when we see on a stage or on a screen a dance, or we hear a certain song that still carries this purity, we recognize it is also about our own soul or shadows, our own healing process and transformation. So again, it's even described that such moments, very high aesthetic moments, can even lead to moments of enlightenment. Even so, again, this is from all times. Art, music, dance. In the beginning they were together. So they had such a powerful effect on people. So it's really a magical representation, and it can be like a really powerful ritual. And in India, where we are very happy that we'll go soon there and we'll have such things in our programs, such moments of music and art. So in India, the most ancient and respected treaty about art is called Natya Shastra, if you heard about this. So Natya means dramatic, but in ancient Greece, in all plays, they have, again, poetry and incantation. So even that is a part of Natya. And for William Shakespeare, and the same time for ancient Greeks, this was a form of magic, a dream world that was evoked together, So that's why, even comedies that, that are written in that form, they are very fascinating and ecstatic even, So, and then you see that the ego is not as rigid as we think. This is interesting with art, and the theater is allowing us to play. And then, you're not so much stuck in the ego. So it's an interplay that has this magic power of healing also. Not to mention even awakening the heart. So many times you wake up in tears while you are watching something that really has power in in aesthetics, in all kind of ways. And so there's a lot, but the idea is briefly to start transfiguring wherever we are, and even in our relationships. Even we nowadays, we don't even look in the eye. We don't look at our lover. We have in our mind an image, and we keep that projection. And instead, which again, if we just hold our hands and contemplate each other and try to see what is there, because it's a whole universe in each person. And again, you don't need to have so many relations, because it's so deep that you can obtain in a relationship, which is love. And again, love and beauty is something to be cultivated from all the points of view. Krishanu?
Thank you, Valentina. That was a wonderful disposition. And now over to Amit Goswami to wrap it up and add if anything needs to be added. I believe a lot can be added, but whatever is permitting time.
Thank you, Krishanu. Yeah, I will add a very important message that archetypes and especially beauty gives us. As you know, archetypal representations were made by our ancestors. In some of it in the primitive times, prehistoric times. And it is not surprising that they had much less knowledge at the time and they made mistakes. Now, you have to go back to thousands of years and realize that when we did not even have the discovery of fire at our disposal, how fearful dark nights might have been, full new moon nights. Imagine being a forest, imagine wild beasts around and how afraid you would be of the dark. And those fears is what our ancestors recognized as ugly, negative emotion. Something is ugly if it gives us fear, just as they call something is beautiful if it gives us pleasure. I told you they look at beauty more in the pleasureful terms, entertainment. And the circuits of fear and circuits of pleasure, they are both built in our brain as instincts because of our ancestors made these images so strongly in their collective unconscious. Still this day, we get influenced by those images. Dark is ugly and white is beautiful. This has caused so much problem in humanity. Not only just racism, but so much of discrimination against just simply because somebody's skin is dark, therefore the identification of ugly with that. So when we mix with love, thing changes. This duality disappears. And we get the transcendent beauty that Valentina talked about. Beauty that transcends those dualistic concepts that we see by only comparing. This is not ugly and therefore it's possible that this is beautiful. We see beauty only in judging with, okay, this is not ugly. Can we see beauty anywhere, transcendent? Can one actually do that? I'll tell you a story I have heard. Vivekananda, who was the great, great, great spiritual teacher, sage in 20th century India, he used to talk about his guru, Ramakrishna, great mystic. And he used to say, my guru has the most beautiful eyes. Now, of course, others who knew about this They have heard Vivekananda say such things many times. They would just smile, but newcomers would always say, "But why? He just has ordinary eyes. We don't see any difference between anybody's eyes and Ramakrishna's." Then Vivekananda would explain, "My teacher cannot see anyone as ugly. He sees everything as beautiful." Seeing transcendent beauty, seeing things with beauty and love, gives us this power. This is when the power of beauty becomes the power of us, because when we no longer have that negativity that we have about seeing somebody that our instinct is telling us it is ugly. Just imagine, instincts are just deep level of conditioning. Imagine how deplorable a condition that is when I am moved by an emotion without my volition. It's like being on a string. Somebody is pulling the string and I acting like a machine. You want to do that, or do you want to be a human being who wakes up to the fact that there is transcendent beauty when we look at things with love? This, my friend, is the message of this webinar. I think Valentina and Krishanu will both agree, and you will agree also. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was just wondering if all of us start thinking this way about beauty, then it will be very hard to hurt someone, very hard to do really something which is wrong. And this is a sense which can take us means mankind as a whole, to a whole new level. And of course, we talk about so many such things in our courses. You can visit our website at www.amitgoswami.org. You can email us at info@amitgoswami.org, and we will reply whatever questions you have. We have several other things going. Do visit the website or our Facebook page and get back to us. If any of these discussions impacts someone in a very positive way, all this effort is worthwhile. We'll continue this till for next week. For now, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Professor Goswami and Dr. Onisor, to be a part of this show. See you next week.